Good morning, everyone. This is Thomas Watson, trucking expert here at FreightWaves for the second day of this Future of Supply Chain, joined by the amazing, talented Grace Sharkey, of course, and our first guest. I'm going to preview in a minute, Mark Vickers, but we're going to have a great show for everyone today. Going to be talking about insurance, various types, why you need to know about it, and why we're cooler than the stuff going on the larger stage behind you. That's right, folks. We bring the heat and I bring the hate. Let's get started here. First things first. Mark Vickers, EVP and Head of Intermodal Logistics at Reliance Partners. Going to be talking about Mexico, cargo, insurance, all the good stuff. I love the tequila hat. Mark, tell us two things. One about yourself, and there's a story about this hat.
Yeah.
Sure. So first of all, it's day two of FreightWaves Future of Supply Chain, having a blast so far. And we're at FreightWaves, and when you think about insurance people, you're like, okay, do they know anything about freight? And Reliance Partners is a little bit different because we're all freight people that got into insurance on a necessity, really.
Yeah.
And to kind of take a step back, I was at a large freight brokerage out of Cincinnati that a lot of people know about for almost 8 years. Had a good time there, started a few offices. So I was in freight brokerage for almost 8 years. I got into the tech side, and I started using MacroPoint quite a bit. MacroPoint was awesome for me and my clients, but this is 10, 12 years ago, and I was actually able to use MacroPoint for Mexico visibility, even 10 years ago. So that's a thing. And, you know, my shipper clients, when I was at TQL, they started asking me for visibility. And they're saying, hey, Mark, you're handling a lot of our inbound and outbound expedited Laredo freight, but can you handle some of our Mexican business as well? And as any freight broker would say, sure, and then figure it out later. And that's literally what I did. So we figured out the visibility piece, but while I was at TQL, I really didn't figure out that cargo insurance piece in Mexico, and it bothered the heck out of me. And, you know, kind of the industry standard for a response on cargo liability in Mexico when you're speaking to a U.S. shipper has always been, here, I'll handle the freight, but sign this waiver of liability in Mexico. And that always stuck with me. And I always felt like that was literally the worst customer service in the world.
Yes.
And
sorry if we lose it or it's gone.
Yeah, I'll handle your freight, but I'm not responsible for it at all.
Yes. Oh,
no. And I couldn't stand it. And those same shippers that were using me for brokerage at TQL, they were also started using me at MacroPoint, and they kept asking me that question. So I ended up literally cold calling insurance companies to see if they'd take a risk on Mexico, and finally got some bites. And this was about still 8, 9 years ago, and we put together a program. We called it Borderless Coverage.
Yeah.
And we got something off the ground, and I was lucky to have some pretty big freight brokerages and some pretty big asset-based motor carriers, as well as some rail partners, to just kind of pilot this concept of borderless coverage and kind of beta test it. And they punched me around for a while. They poked holes in it. We talked about how insurance would work, how the claims process would work for cross-border in Mexico, and what it really needed to look like.
Yeah.
And, you know, after a few claims and after working with these groups, the product took off. So it took off about 5 years ago. I was really excited about it. It's more my passion lies. And we started getting to do all different kinds of commodities. For example, tequila.
Yes.
Grace, here's your hat.
I'm on. You know what? I curled the hair today just for this moment too.
Yeah. So
looks good.
So we got the product off the ground, and then I guess we kind of got in the news and from FreightWaves and from some other media outlets. And I got a call from a group called Reliance Partners, and I'm like, hey guys, I love you, but I'm into this product right now.
Yeah.
Everybody needs it. No one knows how to get it. I shouldn't really say that I don't have too many competitors, but there's not that many out there. And they're like, hey, we'd like you to join our group. We want you to meet our team. And the guy that gave me the call was a guy named Tom Albrecht. Tom was the CFO of Celadon. He He actually closed Celadon's doors. He's not the guy that's in jail. He's the good guy.
The good,
Celadon.
yes. Yeah.
And
The good witch, yeah.
and Celadon's Mexican entity was Jaguar. And Jaguar was using my product, so we had some dialogue around that topic. And he's like, why don't you come to our headquarters and meet some of the guys? And I'm like, these are all freight people. These aren't insurance people. Tom, I'm glad that you're a CFO and a financial guy, but these people understand freight. They understand the needs of the transportation logistics market specifically.
Yeah.
Because they were in the seat as a freight broker, they were in the seat as a dispatcher at U.S. Express. Yep. And I'm like, all right, these guys understand problems that we're solving towards and the reason why and the pain points of the hottest topics around, which are really fraud, theft, Mexico. And my slot ends up being Mexico is my favorite talking point. And I could go on and on about really cargo liability all day long, but the real key item that I'd want kind of your audience to understand is there are very few insurance markets that will do Mexico because carriers in Mexico don't have any cargo insurance. The United States, every single carrier has got at least $100,000 in motor truck cargo. In Canada, it's very similar. But in Mexico, the law is totally different.
Yeah.
Carriers are only liable for about 14 cents per pound, which equates to really under about...
It's like an LTL insurance policy. Yeah.
It's like they're responsible for under $4,000.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Regardless of the value. So the load could be worth $1 million, it could be worth $2 million, it could be worth $25,000, but the carrier's only on the hook for a price that's based off of the weight of the load.
It's true, yeah.
So it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And in insurance, especially shipper's interest insurance and cargo insurance, the beauty of it from an underwriting standpoint is that you can provide the coverage, but there's something to subrogate against.
Yeah.
And in the United States, you've got that motor cargo insurance, the motor truck cargo insurance to subrogate against, but in Mexico, there ain't nothing.
No.
So we're taking the full risk on in Mexico, and to get insurance markets to take out that requirement for a broker to be using a motor carrier who's got $100,000, that language had to really be removed, like redlined out of the policy for it to work.
Yeah.
So we've been able to work with just a few groups that we feel are really trusted partners, and they've not only built the program out with us, but they've backed it with unbelievable technology that's integratable with any TMS out there.
I'm wondering what that process is like. Let's say there is a claim, right? Like, how does that process work, and how do you work with the clients to make sure they feel supported in that, right? Because it's one thing to sell the insurance, make sure it's there, but the worst part is when something goes wrong, right?
Yeah, so the hardest part about getting this program off the ground was getting buy-in from Mexican carriers and from cross-border motor carriers who didn't believe me. And for years, it was me going down to Laredo and Nuevo Laredo saying, hey, would this product work? And they're like, yes, we need this product. Please do it, but we don't believe you. Yeah. And not until a few of those carriers had claims did it really start to sink in. And the claims process is, say you're a large U.S. freight brokerage based out of Chicago, and you're moving freight from Chicago to Monterey, and that process usually involves a U.S. carrier. So you've got a U.S. trucking company. Yeah. You're taking it to a U.S. inspection port warehouse. And then there's a drayage carrier that moves it across the border to take it to another inspection house in Mexico. And then there's a Mexican carrier that delivers it to either another warehouse or the final destination. So there's usually at least 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 hands that touch every single load. So that the question of how is a claim resolved is, it seemingly sounds like it would be a difficult question to answer, but it's not. In the event of a claim, even if it's in Mexico, we're covering that shipper for the full value, regardless of what happens, where it happens, or which party, or wherever the claim happens. If the claim happens in the United States, okay, we'll have the ability to subrogate against that underlying motor carrier. If it happens during the border crossing, or if it's in a warehouse for a few days,
yeah,
that's kind of it used to just be kind of like an iffy area, like what's going to happen? Does the warehouse policy respond? What happens?
Yeah.
We still cover that. And then in Mexico, the claim is still resolved just as how we would resolve it in the United States. So the product that we have is really a shipper's interest cargo insurance product, where we're paying the shipper directly for the full value, and then attempting to subrogate after that. And that's the beauty of this program, of the process. And the reason why is because I think it's one of the ugliest conundrums in supply chain globally is who's liable for the cargo in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's an ugly discussion because historically when that claim happens, that carrier, that broker, and that shipper argue, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, on who's going to kick in what to cover that claim. That shipper's going to say that they're self-insured.
You see it domestically too, even. So I can't imagine the borders adding anything to that conversation.
The shipper's going to say they're self-insured, but all that means is that if they're reinsured and their deductible is probably $100,000. And then the broker, well, they've got contingent coverage, which doesn't help in Mexico, and then that carrier doesn't have anything. So it's a fight on who's responsible for what, and that shipper oftentimes will cut off that broker and that carrier from the freight, and then that broker and the carrier will oftentimes reach that shipper and say, hey, we're not going to provide you any trucks on this freight that you need to move until this is resolved, because we don't want to pay for
payments hold.
So this program makes everyone whole, and it forces the cross-border supply chain to work better together.
It's no longer antagonistic. It's typically, because that's what happened, OS&D, things being lost. Moving forward, everyone's talking about nearshoring and increasing cross-border. Having this program in place, is that one of the things folks need to be paying attention to moving ahead, is that it's one thing to work on having the Mexican carriers, but we also have to make sure that the policies and protections are in place, because I feel like a lot of folks are sleeping on it.
I mean, totally. If you're not already responding to some of those client requests on can you handle our Mexican freight, you're way behind the curve. You should have gotten started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to tackle it from a freight broker perspective. You can do it by acquisition. You can grow through just bringing some of your trusted senior executives to actually move to Mexico, and then you can hire in Mexico. But you've got to have trusted partners, and I wouldn't do any of that unless you've got proper carrier vetting plus risk management plus tracking in Mexico going on.
And looking ahead, folks want to learn more, get in contact here as we're wrapping up this first segment. What's the best way to find out, try to get their feet wet, and just try to digest all this? Love the hat.
Right?
Try to get their handle around it, because I can imagine for a lot of folks, I'm finding the carriers, I'm telling everyone I'm getting a nearshoring, but I need to know more. Best way to find out?
So a quick recommendation is I wouldn't build the program until you have the business.
Yeah.
So find one client that is doing cross-border freight that you're killing it with them on the U.S. side, and they might be asking one or two agents, hey, can you expand, or can you help us with Mexico? Listen to all those very specific requests from that first client. Meet with them in person, learn about what they're actually asking for, get their insurance requirements, and give us a call, and we'll help you win that business. And if you can be winning large cross-border contracts in this day and age, it's a good way to hedge against a rough freight environment.
Yeah.
Well, a supportive insurance company, not something you see often, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Mark, thanks so much for coming on. Amazing stuff. Looking forward to seeing what y'all are working on as well. And we're going to be at the wrap for our first segment.
Yeah, we appreciate you having you on.
Grace, love you.
Good time as always.
Thomas.
Look for it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Sir.
I'm sure we'll have you on more, because the freight's not going anywhere.
Let's do it.
That's right. Funny, the freight's going to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Also need to give a shout out to our sponsor for the show, Lean
True.
Solutions Group. So give them a holler. They're around here, and say hi. So thank you all as well. Forgot to put that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Got it in the middle. Folks in the back, we're going to add it
booth in
both
the
in.
back. Yes.
Yeah. We'll fix that in post. We're good to go. Let's welcome our next guest. We're doing it live over here. Brett Dykes, Vice President of Sales at Marquee Insurance Group. Brett, pleasure to talk to you. Insurance is the name of the game today, but I think that we've talked about Mexico. Let's talk about carriers, small carriers, large carriers. Tell us about yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Brett Dykes. Been with Marquis for about 7 years. Done a little bit of, worn several hats while I've been there.
Yeah, same here.
No hat's that fun.
Yeah, right.
But I've done, started on our renewal team and helped build that. Then when COVID hit, kind of took over our operations team for a little while, and now focusing on our sales while handling our renewal team as well currently. So been with Marquis since it was a few years old, and loved watching it grow and be a part of the journey.
So tell us what it's like for you, especially building out these insurance programs and talking with small, medium-sized carriers right now who, man, talk about costs, right? Like that they're dealing with on top of the margins that they're not seeing. What's this environment like in the role that you play and in the role that Marquis is playing in this industry?
Yeah, so I mean, it's, the name of the game is going to be keeping your safety scores where they need to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be watching your loss runs and keeping those losses mitigated best as possible. And then what we try to do is we try to come into it and offer as much as we possibly can. So we have a safety program, that every carrier that is insured with us gets monthly. It's called our Boost program.
Ooh.
And so every month they get a report card, a screenshot pretty much of their safety scores. We're going to tell them what increased, what decreased. We're going to show them the inspections that caused this. That way, if one of them is, not an inspection of theirs, we also help them get it data queued and get it off of that. We also have one thing that I think is especially amazing on that program is the unscheduled units. So, obviously most of the policies are scheduled unit policies until you get to that fleet and that bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So the insurance companies are watching those inspections as well. And a DOT officer can absolutely accidentally fat finger something, put the wrong VIN number in, and if the insurance company sees that doesn't match exactly, then they're going to get you for an unscheduled unit, which could lead to a cancellation. So one thing that we do is we cross-reference it with our system of what units you have scheduled, and then if there's anything that doesn't match up, we send it to you each month, let you know that there was an unscheduled unit. Do you A, need to get this data queued, or B, do you need to get this added to your policy immediately because you're busy? Maybe you forgot to send that email over. Maybe it's sitting in your drafts.
And one of the interesting things as well, using telematics, sharing your ELD data to get better discounts because insurance companies treat them as your friend. Talk to us a little bit about that because that's something I've heard recently, but like there's challenges and stuff. It's fascinating to see because just like finding the units, sharing the units.
Well, and I want to say too, I talk about this on the radio a lot, and basically, am I lying to drivers saying that technology is actually going to help them in this case, right?
It'll absolutely help.
Yeah.
I know there's a feeling of big brother.
Yes,
no doubt
100%,
about
yeah.
that. But the thing that I always try to relate to our customers when talking to them, if they're iffy about that, is you're just a data point. They're not specifically looking and analyzing you specifically.
That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah.
Just a point. They're just trying to understand more of where they can drive insurance rates. Is there certain parts of the country that's performing better than others based on lanes, based on where you're going? So you're just a data point, but you can see significant, decreases on your premium by sharing this telematics information with your provider. And that's something that I think is often overlooked. Everyone's a little scared to do it, but at the end of the day, in this freight market that we're in right now, saving money is the name of the game.
Yeah. And,
you can truly save a lot of money. I mean, some insurance companies offer 10, 15% discounts annually, which when you're talking about policies, that $20,000, $30,000+ a year, that can make a big impact on your bottom line.
Interesting. Can you talk a little bit about what can affect the insurance coverage or maybe those claims as well in regards to actual location, right? As we have the telematics now, we have that visibility. What exactly, how do you look at that data in regards to like where they're running and how does that affect their overall policies?
Yeah, so the big thing with the telematics, I think, is it does allow them to see kind of the data points like I was speaking to.
Yeah.
And I think right now a lot of the insurance companies are still testing. I think they're still trying to figure out how they're going to use that data.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to figure out, where are the trends, where are they seeing the trends? So I think it is right now great to get in on the ground floor of sharing that information because once they get their data, I'm not sure how long the discounts may last. So go ahead and take advantage of it right now. It's only going to help you. And that's what I understand the big brother feeling 100%. I do, but You know, if it can save you and it can help you and it can help your bottom line, I think that's what's most important, especially right now.
Yeah. I think, you know, getting all this stuff for the average driver population, it can feel a little overwhelming. And so I was talking to you earlier about the stuff, trying to become more of a partner and help them even wrap their head around it. So that way it feels a lot better. Instead of a big brother, this is my friend who also wants me to help save money because I don't drive to California. I stick around the Southeast and I can get a better deal. Tell us a little bit about that, because it does seem to be like part of the job is now evolving. Here's all this cool technology to help you, but I also need to like help get you comfortable with the technology, because for many of them it could feel like a little overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it can be overwhelming, and that's what we're here to help. You know, I mean, at Marquee, I think our main goal is to focus on fostering that relationship with our customer and helping them better their trucking company year over year. You know, there's a lot of things you mentioned, like where you're traveling. If you're staying in the Southeast or you go into California, your radius of operation makes a huge impact on your premium for a majority of markets. So, you know, if most insurance agents are just going to assume you're at unlimited, which means you can have the lower 48. You know, so if that's something that you're changing this upcoming year, come your renewal, definitely let your agent know that, because there's several, you know, big players in the game that will offer significant discounts for that. But you know, it's the telematics piece is they're trying to make it easier and easier. Some insurance companies have their own ELD device that they will send you free of charge. You know, if you sign up for the program to share your information, they will mail you the telematics device, and all you have to do is plug it in. It comes with a tutorial video, and we're happy to help as well. But you know, that's the biggest piece of Marquee is we don't want to just be an agent. We want to be a one-stop shop for you. You know, we have the safety monitoring. We also have our dedicated fleet teams that are there to help you and go out and visit you on a yearly basis to help you prepare for your renewal. I was just in Chicago on Monday, right before I got back to FreightWaves, and you know, I was up there visiting a prospect and helping them walk through what this upcoming renewal may look like as we kind of take a shot at it.
Yeah. And I want to say too, to be part of the Soap Creek family, right? I really love following the companies, because you're really focused on exactly what your clients need to, I think, improve. And especially what I love to see is like you're building this insurance company to almost help these smaller carriers stay in business and fall out, like we're actually seeing in the market today. Interested moving forward, any highlights on what you're focused on every single day and improving the offerings that are at Marquee already? Yeah,
one of the things that we're extremely excited about right now is we've recently launched Express Lane, which is going to be for those carriers that are 1 to 3 power units. But we have a great BI team that has worked extremely hard on implementing this, and we've scraped the data and got all the information in, so it's extremely simple. It's called MIG Connect, and we send over a quick link for them, and all they have to do is input their DOT number to get started. All of a sudden, it's going to start pulling data, the company name, all the information listed on their MCS 150, what they're hauling, you know, what type of carrier they are, when did their business start. It's going to even go into the commodities and pre-fill those for you based off the commodities you selected on your MCS 150. You know, so it makes it extremely fast to go through. The standard coverages are already there for you. You know, like, hey, do you want to haul Amazon? It goes ahead and fills in all the coverages for Amazon. Are you doing intermodal? Then it goes ahead and fills that stuff in for you. And one of the best things I think that I was most proud of when we rolled it out was we found a way to get the inspection data for the VINs. And so essentially when you come on, it's going to list every VIN that's been inspected. And all you have to do is check it off. Just a quick tick mark that says, yep, I'm still running this truck and I want it. You don't have to get the 17-digit VIN number. You don't have to pull over and snap a picture if you don't know the full thing. Most everyone knows the last 6.
Yeah.
Not usually the full 17 digits. So it's a big help because you can do it in 3 to 5 minutes, get done. We go ahead and run 2 quotes for you instantly, get it back to you that day. And then if you want more, we have a few other markets we get back to you as well.
That's really cool. I mean, I hate putting in VIN numbers, so that's going to be a big deal. Right. Speaking of all the cool tech, folks want to find out, learn more about Marquee, get in touch. What's the best way?
Yeah, you can go to marqueeig.com. You can follow us on all of our social medias. We're very active on that, and we're excited to be here at FreightWaves and be a part of this journey.
You know, I will say too, for everyone who had a wonderful time at the Porsche event yesterday, and you might need a little bit of water today. Thank you for sponsoring the water too, so everyone get hydrated on Marquee too. The insurance for a good night.
Put mine right out when I got
exactly right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this has been I think a great start to day 2. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up for everyone as well, and I think starting with insurance is a great way to kick it off, right?
Absolutely.
It's a different way to look at the industry and hey, future supply chain, the future of what I think insurance is going to look like too. What do you think, Thomas?
Exactly. Super hyped as well. Really appreciate it. Not only are we ensuring our truck safety, we're ensuring our health through hydration. Marquee Insurance. I love it. Yeah. Appreciate it, Brett. Thanks so much as always. We are running low on time, but don't worry, folks. In these final seconds, been an absolute pleasure being at the MC with Grace for this event. Yeah. Join us next time. We'll do it live.